Hello, 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 and welcome. Now, in today's interview, I'm going to be talking about how to make your mess your message with none other than the amazing Belkis Clarke-Mitcham, who is a spiritual life coach and motivational speaker, all the way over at belkisclarke.com, where she helps women over the age of 25 who have lived through trauma to identify their prisons, break free, and unleash their unique light. Now, before I continue, just in case perhaps this is our first time meeting and you've never kind of come across my blog or my channel before, let me introduce myself to you on this glorious day, okay? So, my name is Nina Dafe, and I am the founder and the editor of the Far Above Rubies Collection.com, where I basically help Christian women to know their worth, their power, and their purpose so that they may speak up, step out, and shine as the awesome women of God that He created them to be. And if that's something that sounds like your cup of tea, right up your street, right up your alley, then definitely consider hitting the subscribe button below. Now, you're also going to want to kind of stay tuned and pay attention, because by the end of this video, you are going to walk away not only knowing how to make your mess your message, but how to turn your trauma to triumph by discovering your unique purpose in God. Okay. Now, before I jump right into the meat, potatoes, and all that goodness of all of that stuff, what I'm going to do is a very quick introduction to Belkis, and then we'll jump right in. Okay. So stay tuned. Belkis Clarke-Mitcham is a motivational speaker and spiritual life coach who helps women over 25 who have lived through trauma to identify their prisons, break free, and unleash their unique light. A survivor of sexual abuse, Belkis has risen from a place of attempted suicide to success. In more than a decade, she has helped many individuals. Belkis holds a bachelor's in English, a minor in communication, and an MA in human communication. Belkis worked as a journalist for over 12 years and has taught at every level from preschool to university, covering mostly human interest stories and spending 1/4 of class time motivating students. Belkis recognized that her calling was coaching. She made the switch to her life's purpose during doing what she was most passionate about. Her writing has been featured on the International Red Cross website, local media in the Dutch Antilles, and has been on several podcasts such as She's Making an Impact, The Pitch Tank, and the Authentic Courage series, among others. She is also co-author of the anthology Tying the Knot Between Ministry and Marketplace, Volume 2. The ultimate Caribbean girl, Belkis recently moved to Texas with her husband and daughter. Her website is www.belkisclarke.com. And so, without any further ado, we're going to go straight into the interview. Enjoy! Hey, Belkis, how you doing?
I am doing great, Nina. I'm just so happy to be here with you.
I'm really excited to have you. I've been very much looking forward to having this conversation with you. So thank you for being here today.
Definitely, you're doing great stuff, and who
Oh,
doesn't want to be a part of greatness?
oh, thank you. You're so kind. Well, as you know, because we were having that conversation just a while ago, I've already kind of introduced you to everybody. But if you could just, in your own words, just let everybody know who you are and all the amazing things that you do.
Oh, wow. Well, I was born on a tiny island in the Caribbean called St. Kitts. My
Mhm.
parents moved when we were young to St. Martin, so most of my years was spent in St. Martin. I've lived on several other Caribbean islands, so I'm your ultimate Caribbean lady.
Love it.
Love the beaches, the clear waters, the
Oh,
sunshine, the friendly people.
lovely.
I love home. I love the Caribbean. And I moved to Trinidad for my degree, my first degree. And while there, I met my now husband. Yeah, and we have a 1-year-old daughter.
Oh.
I love to travel. So what I do, I am a spiritual life coach and motivational speaker, as we mentioned. And I deal with women who are tired of being tired,
Mm.
who feel like life is passing them by and they can't get to live their purpose, their passion, and they're just frustrated because who they truly are, they feel they have to cover it up
Right.
to accommodate the life around them. I deal with
Mm.
women who've been through trauma, especially survivors of sexual abuse. I help them to discover value and purpose after the pain in a safe environment where they know that they've got a hand to help pull them through the darkness, and
Mm.
that the glimmer of light they see is not necessarily an oncoming train,
I love
is
that.
there for them. So yeah, teach you to identify your fears and how to break free of that and live in your most authentic space.
Mm.
So that's pretty much what I do. I came from a background of sexual abuse and incest, and suicide attempts multiple times, depression, self-hurt, eating disorder.
Wow.
It it has been quite a journey to
Mm.
this space, but it is such an honor and a privilege when I help persons and then they can turn back and see, and I see them moving on to spaces that they really thrive in, and
Wow.
it really does my heart well, to see people get to that space because we deserve our
Yeah.
opportunity, we deserve our chance to be. I think it's a travesty
Mm.
for us to die with the truth of who we are locked inside of
I
us.
agree with you.
We
Absolutely.
should not be our own prison guards,
Yes.
you know.
Yes. So true.
So yeah, that's a little bit of in a nutshell, that is pretty much what I do. I organize retreats because I know sometimes we need to step out of our environment
Mhm.
in order to reconnect to who we are. So we do
Yeah.
retreats and workshops for teenagers and as well, because hurt doesn't start when we are adults, it starts with kids.
Yeah. So true. And then those kids grow up to be those hurting adults, right?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
those are some of the things that I do and love to pour my heart and my passion into.
It sounds amazing. And like even as you're speaking, like the passion just oozes out. Like you can just you can see it. It's tangible, honestly. So could you tell
Yeah,
us a little
because
bit more about like
go ahead.
your your journey, and I don't know, how did you kind of take the steps into becoming like a motivational speaker, a spiritual coach, and how has your faith played into all of that as well?
Oh wow, my faith was like the do you know, in like when you're doing uh experiment in chemistry or in a lab, there is usually one element that makes everything kind of just go poof. It is more
Yeah,
than a catalyst. It is the thing, the element that made everything go click click into place and then start to come together. You
right.
needed all of the elements, but my faith was like the one thing. Now, as I said, I was sexually abused. The earliest memory, today I said the earliest memory I had was at about 10 years. But when I said that, something else clicked in my brain. I wrote a
Mm,
phrase at 10 that says, "Nothing God can control will set me back.
yeah,
Thus, I'll always be moving forward."
I like that.
So when I remembered that quote that I wrote at 10, it made me realize no, abuse happened earlier than 10.
I see. Yeah.
So, yeah, and I did not like the color yellow because I distinctly remember the first incident. I was wearing a nice cotton yellow nightgown that I just loved
Mm,
because it was just so beautiful. The color was so bright and beautiful.
yeah.
And this was an individual father figure that I looked up to,
Mm,
that in my mind and in the experience I had was that find I could find love here and acceptance here and everything. And you know what? This is the first time I'm gonna say this. I didn't like to play dollhouse. I didn't
mm,
like it because you grew up with family touching you when it was dollhouse, and I think that's where it started.
I see.
And pushing you and forcing you to do things. So for me, I never had any attachment to dolls
Mm.
because there was that link. And then there was this, so already I was dealing with that issue.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And that's from really young. And
Yeah.
then here comes again, still in my childhood, an adult figure, father figure, who just totally broke that because I thought, okay, somebody's is loving me because I'm worthy of love. You know, as a kid,
That's it.
kids
Yeah.
really need to be loved and safe and
Yeah.
fed and
They want that
and
security. Yeah.
exactly. And you took advantage of that. And I remember he said to me, you can't tell anybody. I
Mm.
swear, abusers read the same book or something.
That's it.
Um,
Yeah.
he said, you can't tell anybody, about it, or else he said he will kill himself.
Mm.
And here I was not feeling, not sure what as a child, you feel it's wrong, but you don't
Y-
know how to really
Yeah,
put it in.
articulate it. Yeah.
Yeah. So when he said that, I got scared because as a child, I'm thinking, oh, my mom gonna have to raise her kids by herself, and I start thinking the pressure that's gonna be. We were already poor, we
Mm.
didn't have, and if he's gone, who is gonna help her?
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
I'm not old enough to work and help
Right.
her and stuff like that. And
Mm.
that was my thought process as a child,
Mm.
and it taught me that maybe that's what I needed to do to be loved. I
Wow.
needed to make sexual advances and make myself. It taught me that that's what I was good for. When I had a teacher who one day, when said, come with me to get some art supplies,
Mm.
and I went with him, and he closed the door and looked to kiss me and touched me and want to have sex with me on school compound.
My gosh.
Here again, this was a teacher that was looked up to, was respected, and it reinforced that men will never see anything in you
Yeah.
but a sex object, someone to be used. And it doesn't care about you,
Mm.
whether it was fun for you or not. It was
Right.
about the pleasure. And that shaped in my head. By the time I was a teenager, I was so depressed. I didn't even know that that's what I was. And later I found out I was, what do you call it, disassociated, like disconnected
Yes.
emotionally. I did not know how to feel emotions,
Sure.
like except hurt. I knew hurt. I get
Yeah.
hurt, I get
Yeah.
pain. So that was normal. But I tried, when people laugh, I didn't know how to really feel what it is they were feeling and what it was to just be happy
Mm.
without an external something, just be happy. And
Yeah.
so at the age of 15, I tried to kill myself.
Uh,
And I woke up, as a matter of fact, I remember waking up thinking, is this heaven? Because I only saw white around me. And I was
mm.
happy if it was heaven. Because you grew up in a spiritual background. The thing I think I forget is if you can kill yourself, you might kind of.
But you saw the
But
white and it was like, hey.
yeah, so I was like, but then I saw through the slit, like I saw a nurse, and I felt like I could die.
Yeah.
I did not want to be here. I did not want to live. But I had several suicide attempts after that. And
Mm.
every time God kept snatching me back, every single time. I went through eating disorders. I would, eat, throw up, thinking, trying to get the perfect, maybe if I look good enough. Because every time I met some guy, it always was about sex. And I
Mm.
didn't understand to that teenage guys or young guys that, that was a part of it. But for me, it just kept reinforcing
Yeah.
um, what I had been through. I had a maths teacher who was supposed to be helping me with math and then was like, I want to take some pictures of you. And I was like, because I was like, okay, what kind? And that's another thing abuse does. When it's an adult to a child, you feel as if it made me feel like I always had to obey. I did not have a
Yeah.
choice.
Yeah.
So now when I'd gone through all that with these persons doing that, and then I meet this math teacher who's supposed to be tutoring me and say, I want to take pictures of you. And he was like, take it, coax you, take your clothes off and put a white sheet around you. I never forgot that experience. As I became when I became older, I started to become like concerned. Suppose those pictures
Yeah.
resurface in my now career and
Yeah.
stuff like that. But you know what? I refuse to let fear imprison me,
Good.
because we all where we are at make decisions. I was young.
Mm.
I made a bad decision, and if it ever resurfaces, I deal with that. People
Yeah.
can twist and turn whatever, but when I've been hurt
Mm.
and I heal from my hurt, you can't hurt me twice with the same thing.
Absolutely.
So that's the process I take. And I remember the last time I tried to commit suicide. I was married before, and I turned out to trying to escape home where abuse was. I married an abuser,
Yeah.
and I remember him telling me, it's like, oh, I cannot go see anybody without him. um he brought down to my the underwear that I wore. He
Oh,
bought
it's
it
very
was just
controlling.
ridiculous. And one day, a friend of mine who was really close to me came to St. Martin, and I decided, he said he would go with me to visit the person. I was that my self-esteem was nowhere. My sense of self was like absent. So it was control, control, control. And he said he would go, and then when time came to go, he wouldn't go. And I was starting to come in slowly. It's like there was something else I wanted. So I decided I'm going without you, because I started to read these books, and then I was going back to church more regularly because I was searching for something. Now I always had this spiritual battle with what that if I'm just gonna be giving myself to a guy that I'm seeing or whatever, I can't be in church, because the guilt was really getting to me
I.
because God wasn't pleased.
Yeah.
So I was kind of in and out of church at that point.
Mm.
And then I went without him. And so what I did though, I stood up outside by the side of the road outside the hotel area, because I'm saying I don't want him to decide I went in the hotel room and this happened and
Yeah.
that happened. So I stood outside by the road. That was still a problem. That night I got home. When I got home, he said, oh, he drove by, see me standing by the side of the road talking to a guy, and how people would think about him and his wife standing at this. And I'm like, isn't it better than saying they say me in the hotel with some dude? I
Yeah.
mean, what am I gonna do on the side of the road just having a conversation? And he grabbed me. He told me I'm not allowed in the house. And when I tried to go, he grabbed me by my hair and pushed me down the stairs, flight of stairs, and threw over some towels and said, sleep in the car. I
Wow.
was so I was so ashamed. I didn't even call my mom to ask if I could spend the night by her, because I felt ashamed. And that's another thing that imprisons shame. And
You
so,
mentioned your mum. When does she know about all like the previous like stuff that?
well, my mom found out about sexual abuse when I was in high school, because my grades were slipping, and my principal could not understand for an intelligent child who
Right.
came in with, who
Yeah.
had, because I didn't need to do much. But what I started doing is just really not paying, just not doing anything.
No,
I
it's
stopped.
brilliant.
If
Yeah.
I did my work, God blessed me with a great mind and some and intelligence. So I did well. And I
Yeah.
managed to keep that up for a while.
Mm.
But as I went along in high school, the first year, the second year, it's like the third year, my grades started to slide. And by the third year, the principal was like, look, you're going to be finished in a couple of years. What is going on? And I was like, nothing. And so eventually he kept pushing. He put me to talk to the counselor. And when I told her, I was like, so I was sexually abused. So what? Trying to downplay
Downplay.
everything. And she eventually convinced me, we should call your mom. We should let her know. Because, and that's when my mom found out when I was in high school. But the abuse with my husband, she did not know that until after the divorce had happened.
Right.
Um, yeah, and being with him was one of the times, and this is where my faith came in. I started really tuning in. I wanted real. I was tired of pretending I was happy. I was tired of pretending to be what everybody wanted me to be. I was tired. I was young, unhappy, depressed, broken, and tired. I was tired of acting like abuse did not affect me when I knew that it did. It shaped my whole. I did not know what to feel during sex. And I'm sorry if I'm being too blunt
No,
for
be
your
real.
audience,
No, not at
but
all.
it is the truth. It is going through the motions. It
Yeah,
because you're supposed to, and you think it would keep the guy, and
that's
you
it.
They
Yeah.
say that women aren't really supposed to enjoy it. It's more for the guy's sake. And so you put yourself through this continuous torture. I used to be in physical pain because I don't know. I was told how the mind reacts to the body's almost
Yeah.
rejecting the whole
Yeah.
act, and I didn't know that. So it was excruciating, everything. But you put yourself through, and then even when it wasn't excruciating, it still weren't feeling because you don't know what you're supposed to
Supposed to
feel.
feel.
It was totally destroyed. One of the most precious gifts we had was just ripped apart from me, ripped away from me before I even had a chance. And so when I was 20 something, decided my last attempt to kill myself. Now, I had started to read all these books. I was going to church regularly. I was reading. I learned to meditate, and I told God, wherever you are, I need you. I said, I don't need you through what my mother taught me, because my mom really taught us to believe, to pray, to have faith. But it didn't add up for me. I didn't know what it meant. So I told him, I want to know for me what it means. If you are real, and I told God this straight, I said, prove yourself real. I need to know by the evidence of what you are. I don't want to read a story about other
Right.
people's stories anymore. I
Yeah.
want to know for
That
myself. And I
connection.
pleaded and I begged God, and I was in tears so many times. You understand? And I remember I was still married. And this is where the whole thing came together. God said, my husband said he was moving back to a tiny island called St. Eustatius. That's where he was from, about
Okay.
3,000 people. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to go because I had just launched a youth group that and it blew my mind away because when we launched, denominations came together, like youths from
Wow.
every denomination. There was
Yeah.
no segregation. It launched on that tiny island with over 500 young people showed up the first when we launched.
That's
When
amazing.
we served our first church service, it was standing room only. The guys from the street corner came off the corner and was looking through the window at the service. And they brought the youngsters out of the home, the disciplinary home for young men. You understand what they brought them? It was jam packed top to bottom. So the group was thriving, parents trusted us when young people say, I have a little job, it's at night, but I have no ride home. After working 12, 13 hours, I get up. I
Wow.
go, I get them to make sure they were home safe. We introduced them for the first time to fine dining, we taught them etiquette, how to use their knives and forks, molding the whole person.
Yeah. Life
So it was
skills.
going well, and I did not want to leave. And I remember um, telling God, what are you doing with me? Come on. I mean, I want to learn to hear you for myself. I want to know what this is, and I'm not sure. And so I remember my heart was burdened, and I locked myself in that bathroom. And I went on my face literally because I just felt depressed down. It's like I couldn't stand anymore. I said, Father, I'm unhappy with this man. Now he's taking me to his home. And I said, maybe it could be an opportunity to restart. We could reconnect and stuff like that. You know, and I do not know how else to explain this to someone. But
I do that to people. I
the
do that to
room
people. I
is
feel
as
like
if
you're
it
sitting in my room.
disappeared. And all I saw before me, down on my face, bawling my eyes out, were a pair of feet before me.
Wow.
And I got a little drawn back, but I couldn't even look
Look
up.
up. Wow.
And then those feet, it melted away, and I saw before me a desert place. But around the desert place, there were a thick forest, and there were people peeking out from among the trees, but they were only skin and bones, literally just skin and bones. And all of this is flashing before me, and I clearly heard, go into the wilderness, build me an altar of stone, so my people will learn to worship me in spirit and in
In
truth,
truth.
so that they will know that I am God.
Wow.
I got up. I tell him we're moving.
Why? What's
Okay,
happening?
I'm going with you. Now, a couple years before that, I remember this is when I started to see the reality of God. I was in my bedroom, locked away, crying my heart out about all I've been through, feeling so depressed all the time. And I dropped down to my knees to plead for the millionth time with this God I couldn't see, to plead, a young girl on her knees. And I saw, used to get these visions. I saw my, like a darkness beneath me. And I knew instinctively it was nothing. And I saw myself holding on to the end of a rope. And I heard, if you let go, this is it. This is it for you, falling into the darkness. And there I am holding on. Do you know, I wasn't making any sound. It was a silent pleading with God,
Yeah.
with this picture in my head that I just don't know where it came from. I felt my mom come in the room and just slipped down on one side of me, and my stepfather slipped down on the other side of me. She said I was sitting in the living room and God sent me to pray with you. I did not call. That is when I know there has to be something greater than me
Absolutely.
who finally heard me. So
Yeah.
now back to my husband. That second incident, we got to St. Eustatius, and we are living with his sister, and it was just horrible. He did not change. Nothing changed. And there I was now, without family, without
With
support,
support
without
system.
anybody that I knew. And I sat down outside on a rock at 9 o'clock at night in the dark, about to slit my wrists. When all of a sudden, a thought hit me so profound. Now, I remember I've been doing lots of reading, so I've been putting in a lot of stuff. But you know, we go away of absorbing things and it doesn't click, click, click.
Yes. Yeah.
I sat there and all of a sudden something clicked. Stories I had read of young women who tried to commit suicide but overcame. Started flashing through
Right.
my head. Teachings I had heard by Miles Monroe on purpose all of a sudden it's like a dam broke, and positive after positive after positive. I'm sitting 9 o'clock at night, I'm sitting there. And then came the vision, the thought that override it all. Jesus died for the world.
This is it.
Why are you dying for others? You don't need to do what he already did. You need to live. And I was like, why am I killing myself because he hurt me, or my stepfather and all these people hurt me? I cannot die for the horror of humanity. I can, though, live for the honor of humanity and God. I can live the truth for somebody else to see and know. But if I'm dead, then it's all in vain, and I would have helped no one to their place of salvation, to their place of hope and life. That thought triggered something in me. The very next, I went into sleep. The next day, I got a call from the church that said, oh gosh, and I know we gotta go, so let me wrap this up quickly. That said, we would like for you to go on a youth camp to Virgin Gorda. All expenses paid. I said, well, bless the Lord, oh my soul.
And all that is within me.
And Nina, that was the turning point. Wow. I went on that youth camp. It was as a matter of fact, God was so with me. God so prepared the way that when you got to Tortola, because then you take a ferry over to Virgin Gorda. When I got to Tortola, I'd never been to Tortola. And then they told me where I gotta go. And I get there, you're supposed to pay to go on the ferry, but I had no money. And they took me across free of charge. When I got there, I never pitched a tent to save my life. But no, it's a youth camp. And so I tried to put it up, and they came, and those guys came together. They saw me struggling, helped me out. Every step of the way, there was nothing I had to pay for. And so I started to say, you're real then. Well, then I need to know you inside out. I don't want to know what my mother knows. I don't want to know what a pastor tell me. I need to feel you so real, as if you were standing next to me. Right. I want to know who you are. I want to know what makes you laugh. I want to know what hurts your heart. I wanted to know God the way I got to know friends or a guy that I was interested in. And that is how I developed. So God quoted me. And I in turn courted him.
Love
And
it.
we had this whole thing going on to today that one of my friends said to me, she said, I think you're God's favorite. I was like, why do you say that? She says, because all you do is think a thought and he
And it happens.
manifests it. I said, that's not being a favorite. That's called alignment, baby. That's called being so intertwined that you do not know where he ends and I begin. It is
Yes.
that kind of connection we got going on. And I preserve that with my life. The faith that I have has propelled me. It has cleared my path. The God that I serve has kept me. And I ain't saying this in no cliche way. Every time death was at my door, he has literally snapped me back. I have stood with cars coming like that, coming at me head on, and all of a sudden I just felt myself jerk backwards before it hit. I have been preserved after preserved after preserved. And so my faith, that governing thought, Jesus died for everyone now so you could live, did not just mean live in eternity. It meant live in the here and the now so others can live as well. Girl, I don't mean to preach on your
Listen,
show.
I'm like these. I'm like, yes, continue. Let it flow. Honestly, honestly.
Honest, yeah. And so that was for me the trigger and all of it. And so what I realized is when my heart became sincere, when I was not pretending anymore, when my
Yes.
heart became sincere, then God could get real with me. And the kind of experiences, if I could share just one more real experience,
Yeah.
this is
Absolutely.
how God and I developed such a close relationship, and it is a relationship. It takes work, it takes investment, it takes interest.
Absolutely.
And I don't want God for what He could give to me. I want to know Him,
Him.
the being.
Yes.
That's what I want to know. I
Yeah.
want to know everything about Him. And so one day, I had left when I was at university, gone home for the vacation, and I hadn't been home in a while because, money short and all of that. If I only tell you how I got to university, God paid for that for 2 degrees. He paid for it.
Oh.
But yeah, um, so I got home and my sister had an incident where she got paralyzed from the waist down. And so, of course, she was struggling. And it was the first time I was going home seeing her in that scenario. My mom had been doing it all on her own, and I know it had to be hard. So I told my mom, I'm going to help you. So I'm home with my sister. After working at school all year, I was exhausted. But my sister would be calling at 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock. She needs to be turned. She needs this, she needs that. And I sat down one day on the bed in tears. I said, God, I can't do it. I don't know how my mama does it. But I, Belkis, can't do it. I need a break. Because I have to go back to school. And it's not that I don't want to help my sister, but I really, to survive, I need a break.
Yes.
And the thought had barely gone through my mind when my phone rang. And a friend of mine from another island called and said, I've got to go to Guadeloupe for a medical. And I was wondering if you would like to go. Your ticket is paid, your hotel is paid, and you get a stipend for going with me. I was like, God, you for real? I said, you, you for real? But that wasn't the beginning and the end of it. We went. And the truth is, it was her kidneys that were giving her issues and stuff like that. So she had to go through some tests. And what I did for her, I made sure she had a great time. I still remember us sitting in a park, eating ice cream, rolling on the grass, laughing our hearts out in Guadeloupe. We don't know nobody. I made sure she enjoyed herself and had a good time and did whatever I could. So when she went to the hospital, I would go, we would sit down, she'd show me all these pictures with her family, tell me stories. And I just let her talk and let her be and then would pray with her. And then when she did the first of the test, they said to her, you know what? We don't like what we are seeing. We may have to remove one kidney. Now, I didn't go there. I just went thought, thinking it's a checkup and all of that.
Yeah.
We'll need to remove one, but the other one is functioning well enough for you to be okay.
Right.
And I was like, oh, this is taking a turn in ways I don't know how. And I prayed. And I could not pray for her the day of the operation. I said I would. I said fast, but for some reason I couldn't find the words. I mean, the night before I prayed for her, I brought a friend in of mine who was a pastor, who was also a student and had come back home, and they came over to pray. But the day of the fast, I just couldn't pray. I was restless. I went into the mall, I'm walking around, and I just want to hear how everything went. And I'm like, God, I can't find the words right now to say, and I don't know why. And and a fear was starting to settle upon me, and I was like, no, 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 we're not doing this. And then when they called me and they told me, she had come out, I was like, yes. So the student from school who had gotten back to Guadeloupe said, him and his wife said, okay, let's take you out for a drive because you've been all pent up
Sure.
today and stuff. We had not been on the road for about, it was maybe 2, 3 minutes we were driving. When I got a call from back at the apartments where the insurance persons were saying, and they were like, oh, we need you to return. And I'm thinking, did I leave on the stove? But they could get in the apartment if they need to. And I'm thinking, what could be? And I got there and there were tears streaming down her face. And I was like, you okay? She said, I need you to sit down. I said, I don't ever need to sit for nothing. I do good standing up. And she tell me she's gone. I said, who's gone? She said, Angela. I said, no, she isn't. And I'm looking at my friend and I said, tell her she isn't. They called me and told me she was fine. She said, yes, she is. And we just want to know if you want to go see her. I was like, what? I was like, sure, let's go. Nina, we sat in the car and all I did was think in my head, God, make her undead. That's what I said in my head. I didn't speak it out loud. I just said that. Can you make someone undead? The phone rang. The doctor is on the line saying, I don't know what happened, but her heart restarted.
Wow.
That lady, they put her in an induced coma to let the body
Yeah.
recuperate.
Mm.
But her family decided when they flew in, they didn't know the whole story, but they still decided, oh, well, she's not going to be the same when she comes through, so we're going to pull the plug. The insurance person who was there saw me go there day after day before the family, because I had to finally make a decision if I'm going to bring, because I'm the one there she brought with her, so I had to decide, do you bring the family in? I did what I thought was best. There were parts of me that kind of regretted, because I figured maybe if we had just waited a while more, God could complete this thing if
Yeah.
it's.
Okay.
But the lady who was the insurance person saw me go there day after day, and she said, you keep coming, and she's not moving, she's not doing anything. She said, why? I said, I've got faith. She turned to me, she said, what is faith? I said, well, let me explain to you. I said, have you ever wanted something, believed for it, had no idea how it would happen, but you know it can happen? She said, yeah. I said, that's faith. She said, so who do you have faith in, yourself? I said, oh, baby, let me tell you about the Jesus that I know. And we had this conversation. Um, and for me, though Angela passed when they pulled the plug, when her family decided they were going to pull the plug, for me, asking God, he proved to me anything is impossible. He had shown me how healing of a broken young woman was possible. Now he was showing me how healing of a nation is possible. And a lady asking me, what is faith? And me being able to use my experiences and my story
Exactly.
to relate to her made me realize all of a sudden, I think I know what I want to spend the rest of my life doing. And thus, my journey. He had already been teaching me how to become more authentic, how to tap into my authenticity. And so he started teaching, putting situations started coming where I had to be bold enough to keep living it, reinforcing it until it became so ingrained in my foundation. It's the only thing I know now.
Right.
So that is how faith has played and shaped my journey. That is how God has become so real to me that I could tell people when I'm coaching them that we human spirit got a whole lot of strength, but
Yes.
there's some things beyond us that we need more strength for. There's a greater plan. When you feel so like you're drifting, there is one with a plan for you, and it is, you can align with it and you can be happy and exuberant and unleash your light onto this world that causes life to be transformed. But you first have to be connected to an amazing source of light, the
Absolutely.
right source of light.
Absolutely. Your
Yes.
story is so so powerful. I think the amount of times as you were speaking, I literally, the only way that I can explain it is just almost like feeling my spirit leap. You know, like you,
Mm-hmm.
I can see like what you were talking about being authentic and sharing your story and everything. I
Mm-hmm.
can see how you're able to touch so many people. I can see how you're able to minister, because it's not just that you tell your story. There is like a fire, a passion, but also a spirit that comes out when you speak as well. So thank you so
It,
much for sharing, honestly. Honestly.
it is definitely my pleasure. And I think I am really so fired up and passionate about it because it truly flows from the core of who I am. And you know,
Yeah.
like beneath a mountain, the core is like the hot place. You know, there are volcanoes and
Yeah.
stuff. So the earth, you know, you get this hot
The
stuff down at the
lava.
core.
Yeah.
And I think for me, that is how I see it. It's like the that essence is like a furnace that just keeps churning and it needs to get
Yes.
out, you know. And
Yes.
so yeah,
Wow.
it really is a pleasure.
Gosh. And so
Yes.
for, if there are like people watching now, other women who are maybe where you were, you know, very
Mhm.
broken, maybe even at the point of suicide, whatever the case may be, do you have any sort of tips or advice for them about how they can also make it onto the other side as well?
Oh, definitely. Oh my goodness, where can I even begin? There's so much. I teach a program called Rise,
Mm.
you know, and a lot of it deals with, first you've got to have that revelation. You have got to understand, look, the madness happened, the experiences happen. I have done this, I have done that. It has happened. And you've got to explore, okay, this is what has happened and this is the impact that it has had on me. And then you got to start questioning yourself. And I tell people a lot of the times through this process, you need to write, because sometimes we have an idea of who we think we are based on the sources that have fed our story,
Sure.
the people we have listened to, the friends we have been around, the influential people in our lives. And you need to sometimes step back, because when you've been through some sort of traumatic situation, it is the habit of people to see you as a victim.
Yes.
The question is, the thing is, you're not happy being a victim. You
Mm.
don't want to be a victim. And I have seen so many women just be stuck there in that victim place. And
Sure.
I said to them, you've got to decide for yourself, regardless of what happened, it already happened. What are you going to do about it now? You
Mm.
can't change what happened, but what are you going to do with what has happened? So
Mm.
you have got to get a revelation of that, the impact it has had on you. You need to internalize what you have felt, and then it needs to be, and then once you decide, okay, but this is this, but I'm not happy being this way. But when I do this over here, I feel more alive. I feel more myself. I could do it like breathing. It comes naturally. You need to identify that. And when you have identified that, then you need the I in Rise, which is to internalize it, because it can't just be on the surface. We like to live on surface because we are afraid to face the inner sides of
Yeah.
ourselves. And that mostly comes because we are so afraid that persons will see the negatives.
Yeah.
Persons will see. So what if they do? So what? So what if they see that you got a crack somewhere? That is just more space for your awesomeness to flow through.
Mm.
It does. Your flaws give you something to work towards. There is no, it, show me the perfect person. Show me.
There
Point
is.
them out to me.
Yeah.
So if someone sees your flaws, that's okay. That just means you have acknowledged there's an area I need to work on and get better at.
Right.
Whereas somebody else might be over there living in their brokenness, you're on your way to your healing.
Mm.
So others knowing that you're broken ain't got nothing to do with you. What they want to say or do really has nothing to do with you either. That's on them.
Yeah.
You got to focus on you. You got to internalize who you truly are. You got to tap into This is what I'm great at. This is what I'm good at. If you don't know, then you need to start exploring. And I give people, I said, you need to write down. Oh my goodness, you need to write down what it is that seems most natural to you that you don't want to tell your friends about, but you really like doing, or you don't tell your family about, but this is what you know, your little secret thing over here. Chances are that little secret thing and that thing that scares you a little bit and say, I wonder if I did this, what will happen? And when you do, you get excited at the thought, and then you tell yourself, girl, stop dreaming. Those are the things that usually are your purpose. They flow. So you got to identify that. You got to internalize it because it needs to become a part of who you are. If you cannot envision yourself doing it, you will not be able to realize it. And then when you get to the part of internalizing, it's the place of your ascent. You have to start to soar. So here is it now. You have tapped into your authentic self. You start working through, you start identifying your fears that keeps you locked in, the things that are keeping you back, and you start writing them down. And then the thing you want to do when you write them down is to find ways to how could I solve this? How could I work on this? And each thing that you think is a problem, don't think about doing everything. You think about doing one thing at a time, one major thing. What is the most important? So if you have listed, look, I have a problem with this, this, and this, you put priorities. Which one is the most important? Which one is causing the most problems in my life? You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's something spiritual, physical, whatever. And then you start to research or you listen to people or whatever, you find help, get a coach. How do I break down this problem into smaller steps that I can do one thing at a time? Before you know it, for example, I was telling a friend, I knew someone that had a problem with lying. Oh my goodness, for no reason, they just lied all the time. And so, in helping them through this thing, what I did is we explored what lying did for them. Because whatever you're doing always does something for you. Some people like to tell me, I just did it. Mm-mm-mm-mm.
No.
Mm-mm. If you're staying with that guy who's not treating you the way you ought to, it's feeding something, whether positive or negative. It is feeding something. So we don't just do anything. So this person liked to lie. And so we went through all the process of how they feel when they lie, why they the thinking process. And then they started to write them down. And they look at all the problems it would cause and what and how they envision themselves if they weren't lying.
Yeah.
So based on the yes, so the vision that you have, you see who you are now and you see where you want to get. A place where you're not lying. What is necessary? So we point out what are the steps needed to go from here to over there. We put those steps in an order of priority. And then we started working one step at a time. So every time they come into a situation they had that required a may lie, they had to stop
Yeah.
and make a conscious choice to tell the truth no matter what. Those are tips that I share. You have to know you cannot work on moving the unbrokenness if you cannot envision what an unbroken life for you would look like, and not what somebody's telling you. What do you really want? Nina, that's what I want to ask your audience today. What is it do you really want? What do you want on an emotional level? What do you want on a spiritual level? What do you want on a physical level? And don't come with the cliches and what your pastor told you. When you sit down and there is nobody else around and you strip yourself bare literally and emotionally and spiritually, and you see the mess that you are, and you see the brokenness that you are, what do you want? And don't just tell me healing. Let's start talking about what kind of healing it is you want. We got to get specific with what we want. Otherwise, people going to just throw, and God going to just maybe say, okay, you just want healing? Maybe I'll heal a broken finger, when what you really want is your broken heart to be
Yeah.
healed. And we've got to be willing to do the work. Too many of us want, I said, I'm writing something called glory, but no grind. We want the glory of things, but we don't want to do the work.
Yeah.
No grind, no glory. You understand what it is that I'm saying? The thing is, with God, He has a way of when you put in the work, the glory you think you're getting, He double and triple and quadruple that. So, but you got to put in faith without works
It's
is
dead.
dead.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm trying to say? So you got to get bare with yourself, strip yourself naked. Show me your fears. They are your prisons. Identify them, call the thing by name, and get specific in what it is you envision, you want. I used to repeat the words that everybody say I should want. People say, you should want to be more spiritual, you should this and you should that and you should that. But suppose that's not who I am and that's not what I want.
Yeah.
No matter what society says I should or shouldn't. So this is what I tell people. Write down the vision of who you really want to be. Do you want to be more spiritual? What ways you want to be more spiritual? What does that spiritual woman or man looks like? Who is this person you want to be? Get specific. Describe, do you want to travel more? I got specific in my life when I put it before God, even down to the husband that I wanted. As a matter of fact, I told God I needed a man who would be okay with not having sex outside of marriage.
Mm.
That was one of my requirements.
Yeah.
We got to know what we want, because if you don't know what you want, somebody is going to know what you want and they're going to give it to you, and it's not going to be pretty.
It's true. It's so true.
So these are some of the things I tell people. And writing things down, what it does is it brings before you the picture. It's like painting just with words. So you don't think you're keeping it in your mind, but you're forgetting. Or you type it into a special area in your phone if that's what you want to do. So you want to identify your area of challenge, the impact that it has on you, and where you are now. You want to get a clear picture of that. You want to write down who you want to be in every aspect, as no matter how outlandish it seems, how wild or out of your reach it seems. And let's not just focus on the physical. You want $1 million, but you think it's gonna fall out of the sky, boom, in your lap. Yeah. I'm sorry, I get real with people. You got a dream in your head so long, but you have done nothing. You have not written anything down. You've not searched out to see what's the first step you could work on towards it. You've not even written out the plan about it, anything. So write it down, where you are now, where you want to get. And then you start looking at the steps necessary to go from one area to the next. That is one of the greatest bit of advice I think I could give to persons on the fly without actually working them through the process.
Yeah.
It is important each step of the way to know sometimes there's resistance. Resistance does not mean it's not for you.
Yes, I
It
think that's
means,
something that people misunderstand all the time. They think
yeah.
when they get resistance or when things aren't going their way, that maybe they were wrong or they heard God wrong, or maybe it's not what they're supposed to have. So yeah, I'm so glad you said that. Yeah.
Exactly. It does not mean that there is still contrary forces that works against the greater plan. If you had that in heaven, what do you think gonna be happening here on earth? We gotta
So true.
keep this very, very real. You understand what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So many nuggets there. Like you literally, I feel like you went through from beginning to end. Like if someone is in a place of brokenness, what they can do to actually get out. But then even as they're working through that, how they can believe bigger and dream for the
That's
future
right.
as well, which is just absolutely
That's right.
awesome. Thank you. One of the things that I like to do, kind of, to end and, that sort of thing, is ask just basically some quick fire questions. So, one of the things that I love to speak about is the women of the Bible, because I think there are just some great people in there, some great role models that speak to us as modern women. And so,
Yeah.
who would you say your favorite woman of the Bible is, and I guess why? Like, how does she kind of tie into your testimony, if she does at all?
I like Esther. And I like Esther because when Esther stopped being scared, stepped into her purpose, she saved nations, not just the present nation, but the ones, their offsprings to come, because they
So
were
true.
about to be
Yeah.
annihilated. They were going to be wiped off, done with. And so here was a young girl who, scared as she was, she tapped into what God had positioned her. She didn't even know she was being positioned. But here she had gone through all these processes, the preparations, etc., of becoming, being prepared, and then being chosen to be the queen. And she probably thought, okay, well, this is just a tradition that it happens. This is how we do. I have no say in it. I'm just in this place. Like so many of us, we
Of
think
us,
I'm just in
yeah.
this place. I ain't got no skills for this place, but hey, I am here. You know, they gave me a crash course and got me ready. I'm here maybe because I'm pretty. And a lot of the times we end up in situations not because of what we think, but we need to learn to see purpose. And when Esther saw purpose, when she stopped, and she was scared, you understand? She was scared about doing this thing because you could die.
Yeah.
You can die. But this woman garnered her faith, but she didn't just say, let's pray. When they were done praying, she said, okay, I am going. And sometimes we need to say, for the sake of our passion. That's what I'm saying. You don't worry about if people hurt you. You say, if they hurt me, they hurt me. If I die, I die.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
But what you want to do is, because death will come anyway, one way or the other, we're going to die. And we need to accept that. It's how you want to die. Do you want to die filled up with all that you were supposed to be, having lived somebody else's life? Because when you have lived everybody else's life on what they say you should be, who is left to live your life? So Esther decided to live her life that she was destined to live. She could have just lived what everybody else say and be a pretty little queen and whatever. But she decided to step out into her purpose as queen. And when Esther stepped up, I want to tell somebody who's listening that God still stays his hand. The king stayed his hand. He held back his hand because woman of purpose had stepped into her purpose in a purposeful moment for a purpose. And a nation was saved. Consequently, generations continue. And all the message that were in their children and their children's children was unleashed onto the world because one woman decided to step outside of her fear, in her faith, and go into her purpose. She didn't just exist in the environment of purpose. She became her purpose.
Wow.
And transformed lives. So Esther is the lady. I mean, there are a couple others, but I kind of like Esther, especially when you step into purpose, kings are going to hold up their hands for you and gonna say, no, she deserves to live. You understand what it is I'm trying to say? So why are we withering in a corner? Like I said, living everybody else's lives. Who is going to live your life, your authentic, purposeful life that just might save a nation?
That's food for thought. That's amazing. And if you had to finish this sentence, so I am a Christian woman who is, what would you say?
I'm a Christian woman who lives God, who, when I step into a room, I expect that person's, by my mannerism, by my essence, by what I exude, by my integrity, would know there's something different. There's a God factor here. So I'm a woman a Christian woman who don't just speak God and live God.
Oh, I love that. And so if you had to turn it around, so I'm a Christian woman who is not.
I'm a Christian woman who's not afraid of speaking what God says and showing that to other person.
Absolutely.
I believe in truth. I believe in authenticity. I believe in what God represents, the standards that he has set. And I believe everything is possible in God. I honestly, and so I am not one to slither off into the corner and try to water down what the standards are.
Yes, absolutely. And do you have any last kind of words of encouragement, final words you want to share? And also, please feel free to let people know where they can find you, if you've got any free gifts or anything. Over to you.
Okay, sure. Yeah, let me first start with my last motivation to your listening audience. Whatever it is you have experienced in life, do not let it be your label. Labels tell a story about the contents that are in something. When you look at the label on anything, gives you the definition. It tells you what the value is. It gives you a breakdown of what exactly is inside of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do not let your experience be your label.
Mm.
Instead, become the label for your experience. Tap into yourself. Find what is valuable in you, what you are made up of, the very essence and the truth of who you are. And then you use that to tell the story of the experiences you had. So you do
Wow.
not let your experience label you, you label your experience with the lessons you've learned, the truth and the value of who you are. So then people do not see you as a victim of your experience. You start telling them about you being the victor of your experience. So
Yes.
that is what you should be labeled as. And I can't say that. Let me say that one more time. Do not let your experience label you.
Mm-hmm.
Become the label of your experience. And
Wow.
you do that by looking at what's valuable in you, and you tell their story through that value. You do not be on the negative side, you come out on top. That's what
Absolutely.
they do. You be the one to tell the story. Don't let the story tell you who
Tell
you are.
you. Powerful.
That's right.
Powerful.
And
Powerful.
in terms of where you can reach me, I do have a pretty amazing free offer. What it is 7 mini videos, 7 short videos on various topics that we usually are challenged with, and I give some insights on that, along with a workbook to provoke more thinking and help people activate. It's called 7 Days to Unleashing Your Light,
Okay.
and it gets you to that space of really processing and thinking of the light inside of you, and ways in which you can unleash that and deal with some of what we all face as humans. So there that, and you can go onto my website. It's right there, www.belkisclarke.com.
Mm-hmm.
And I hang out a lot on Facebook and Instagram, Belkis Clarke. They can definitely find my business page and there, and I post lots of awesome content on both platforms as well as on LinkedIn. So that's where you can find me spending most of my working hours on
Love
social
it.
media.
Belkis, when I said, didn't I say just before I press record, this is gonna be a good episode. It's gonna be a good episode.
You did. You
So
did.
said, so done. I feel, like in the New Testament when it talks about the sons of thunder.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, you need to be like an honorary sister, like you like the sister of thunder, like pure fire coming out of your mouth. Honestly, thank you so much, so much.
You,
Because I
you
know
are
I
so
got so much from that, and I know that when people come to watch, they will as well. Honestly, you're such a blessing.
I. It has been a pleasure. And, I've told my story several times, and there are a few things I shared that were new with you. I mean, thanks for allowing me to be so open and
Yes.
honest, because that is what we all strive to be. So thank you so much, Nina. I really have
Okay.
thoroughly enjoyed doing this.
Oh, thank you, my love. I'm gonna say bye and then stop
Bye bye,
recording.
guys. I hope you guys be blessed.
Oh, bye. How amazing was that interview? Now, if you were just as blown away as I was by all of Belkis' wisdom and pearls that she just threw at us, then definitely feel free to like and share this video, especially if you can think of somebody who actually needs to hear it. I'd also really love to know what your biggest takeaways were, so feel free also to let me know in the comments. And as I say on all my other videos, I'm extremely interactive, and so I will hop in and reply back and all of that sort of jazz. So don't be a stranger. We want these conversations to continue. And basically, if you would like to see some more videos like this, or even some of my solo ones where we talk about how to be the woman that God ordained you to be, and go through all of the life situations that may come up and all of that sort of jazz, then definitely also consider hitting the subscribe button, and not just the subscribe button but also the bell, because what that will do is notify you every single time that I upload a new video, which is pretty much weekly, sometimes twice, okay? So you'll get them, you'll be like the first to know, you'll have first dibs basically, all right? So until then, thank you very much for watching this interview and this video, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you again next week. Take care, my love. Bye.